Hey, Coach. Trade deadline was yesterday, and you guys moved on from Bogey and DeAndre. Just what do you say to those guys when calls like that happen and they're going on to a different place?
Yeah, I think we appreciate more than anything what you know Bogey and Dre have contributed here, and David as well in a shorter time span. But anytime you have a player that's part of your program and they move on, which is ironically the norm more than anything, but that doesn't make it any easier. And you wish those guys well, and at the same time, the guys that are coming in, looking forward to having an opportunity to coach them.
One of them is a chance to reunite with George, and
Mhm.
I'm curious what memories you have of him from Utah and what does he bring to the Hawks?
Well, George is a unique player in the sense that I think his personality, he's got a balance of being very competitive, enjoying playing the game, and in his presence, he's got a sense of humor, which is when you have a sense of humor and you're still competitive, that's a good balance. But his shooting is something I think that it is a need for us, and that's what he's done for a long time. I think takes a lot of pride in his defense, and I've just seen more than anything, I've had an opportunity to see him improve over time, and I have great respect for that.
The other two new guys, Karis and Terrence, who I know you've coached against, never coached,
Yeah.
but what do you make of what they're going to bring to you when they are here?
Well, excited about those two guys as well. I think Karas's ability to create, both for himself and for other guys, I think is something that's valuable to a team. I think people maybe don't see or don't know that he's a very determined and efficient defender. That's something also that that we appreciate. And in Terrence's case, his versatility is something that you've seen for years. His ability to guard multiple positions, knock down shots, and compete on both ends of the floor. So all those guys bring something a little different, but I also think all of them have an opportunity to continue to not only contribute here, but I'd like to see him continue to get better and to help our team collectively.
Coach, Bogey had a really strong season last season and then a really strong Olympics. It was set up for him to have a good season this year, but he was never able to really get going. Was there something you can pinpoint other than the injuries for why he seemed to struggle this year?
Yeah, you can dismiss other than the injuries pretty quickly, but I think my point being that that's a significant thing when you're have to sit out at the beginning of the year and trying to find your rhythm. And I know how hard he worked to be healthy, and that's that happened, and I'm excited for him for the opportunity that he has. And as you mentioned, Bogey had a long year last year with the NBA season and the preparation and the Olympics. And sometimes when you play that much basketball, it takes a little bit of a toll on fatigue. But he's ready to roll, and as I said, wish him the best in his new endeavors.
When you're bringing in three new guys mid-season like this, are there any challenges to kind of getting them up to speed to how you want to play and what you want to do?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think three guys that understand and know how to play the game, and they'll adapt. But there certainly is a lot of work on the front end. They'll be up early, going through offensive principles and defensive terms. I think the terminology, as much as anything, that language of communication. Once that's established, there's just a gradual process. But they're all smart guys, and they all know how teams function. and that's part of it. If you're joining the team in the middle of the season as opposed to in the off season, you just don't have that time, as you mentioned. But it's still important, and all of them, will embrace that, and we'll do our best to get them going quickly.
Do you believe with the moves that were made yesterday that you're a better team than you were yesterday, like with the moves that you made now?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think, what you have to look at, I would never, compare and contrast. I think when you look at transactions, they're complex. There's more than just, players, and as I said, I think this team, I would never put a ceiling on our team, and looking forward to getting these new guys in the fold and continuing to work and trying to keep getting better the way we have during the whole season.
Quinn, decidedly a group of veterans brought into this group, and how do you envision that presence changing, improving the locker room dynamic for y'all?
Yeah, it's always good to have that experience. When I say that too, it's not necessarily just age. It's competitive experience and perspective, and to the extent those guys have an opportunity, to share those things. It's not like they're having a class and everybody's taking the class. I think that's a gradual process, and a lot of it takes place on the court. So yeah, our average age went up a little bit, although we've still got a really, really young group, and it's not. Those guys would probably object if you started calling them old. I don't think any of them are at that point in their career. They're in a good wheelhouse there where they're young, healthy, hungry, and I think still have an opportunity to get better, which is great for our young guys to have, veteran players that have been in the league that also work.
Quentin, you've talked about obviously the challenges of incorporating the new guys into the team. What sort of challenges does that present to guys like Dyson and Zach, who have moved into new roles already this year? They've had a kind of a lot thrown at them this year. Is that difficult for them to, again, continue to shift roles?
Well, all that kind of remains to be determined, and I don't know that there's kind of formulaically that this means this to you. That those guys, in my mind, that's the important thing about a team. That your role really, in some respects, is constantly changing. I hope that's the case, because that means you're improving, and hopefully that's the case. With your team, that the thing, it doesn't change. Zach and Dyson, for example, we just need to have them keep working, and to the extent these guys help them, and some of that youthful exuberance can rub off on everybody.
Coach, Trae has had to do a little bit more than usual, of course, with the injuries and things over the past few weeks. What do you think these three players can help in that realm for him?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Trae this year has been continuing to grow as a player. Anytime, you establish yourself in a certain way, in a certain style, and then, those things evolve. This is a dynamic league. If you look how people are playing 3-4 years ago, a lot of times it won't even look the same. And I think that's been the important thing for Trae, is to continue to evolve and adapt and improve in that way. And this is similar to that. I think that's been something that for Trae is essential, is that, you've seen games where he's impacting the game different ways. And as you mentioned, his minutes have gone up of late for some of the reasons that you mentioned. And I'd like to see him continue to kind of take what the game gives you and shoot it and pass it and defend. Okay, thank you guys.